This is the Camnet Midday News. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's take a look at the stories making the headlines. Mbala small-scale farmers bemoan the late distribution of farming inputs. Socialist Party describes debt restructuring as a disaster. In international news, deadliest strike of South Sudan conflict hits Odumuran at least 22 people killed. And in sports news, Zambia records its first win at the COSAFA. For details of these and other stories, join us shortly after this break.
It's time! Camnet TV brings to you an exciting kids show called My Creation. Join me, Sarah Chandamagaza, get to interact with kids with special skills and talents between the age range. Come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Residents of Kamango area in Namalongwe ward of Chilanga district have appealed to government to help them secure the over 15 hectares of land which some people are claiming ownership. One of the affected residents, Mwanei, explains that 3 men identified as Mr. Kalichini, Mr. Lisuro, and Dr. Wininski are claiming ownership of the land they have been occupying since 1989, despite them having documentation of land in question. He says efforts are to have the Ministry of Lands verify the boundaries of the land in question have not yielded any fruits. The trio, alleging ownership of the land, are threatening to demolish the houses of the residents if they fail to pay an amount of 50 kwacha per square meter of land they occupy. We have details in the following reports.
Amid Zambia's natural beauty, the struggle for land is a thorn in the flesh of many citizens. This is the case of Namalombo residents of Middle West area in Chilanga district who are uncertain about how tomorrow will be. The land they've been dwelling on since 1989 is now the center of debate from 3 individuals who claim rightful ownership: Mr. Leonard Kalichini, Mr. Lisulo, and Dr. Wininski. The trio are claiming that the land is rightfully theirs, citing that all the land documents are in place dated from 1990 and 1991. But the community says the land in question was for Mr. Stefan Makate, who later allocated land to Mr. Roger Tembo and Mr. Bitsaidele Sijere, believed to be among the first settlers on the land, who died between 2019 and 2021. The residents have questioned why the land dispute has only surfaced after the death of the first settlers on the land in question. In a letter dated 9th September 2022, the community wrote to the Ministry of Land requesting for verification of the land in question, L47 64M, L54 11M, and L27 340M, which to date has not been verified. They are requesting that the approved sketch maps of the land in question be made available by the ministry, alleging that the trio who are claiming ownership have created a WhatsApp group where they are intimidating occupants on the said land.
Tonight I request kuti tishinikishe mafamu yao watuuze maboundaries yao panyo ya pera. Tunaleta surveyor wamenana pimamo kapeza ti mafamu yange nana ni mafamu ya 3 yali involved, so yonse yange na imozi yanena pimiwa inange na muri yonse ya 3 yange na muri inango extra ili kumbuyo. So if it is wakutiva Minister of Lands songa pase title pa mafamu ya yange nana nichifuka chachi ti doubting amaning. That's why tonight I request kuti kubure boundary verify Minister of Lands kuti waburi waite survey still problem ni chance so abwera. And then ichilango cho dabwisa nchakuti pamene wakamba kuti mafarms ayo ni yawo vambodalo charging abantu tikalibe kugwirizana kuti tite conclude pa issue ba charging kudala abantu mosa gwirizana. Last meeting yanteze nayo tinagwirizana tinakangana tinashushana meeting inasira prematurely, but veve wanaenda wapangana WhatsApp group kuyambo kuita victimize wantu manje kuwatumira ma messages lipira 50 kwacha pe square meter.
Papamenti yendela tunaisa kwenda kuchilanga kuona ba chilanga chairperson, then tumapepa tunango ndio kama tulile kuti batandizire but nkhani ikulu amene tifundisisa ni yakuti babwere bapimemo so that aliyense azibe kwamene alili azibe malo pamene alili so that kukayikira kwa bantu kusile then ivo vikachitika ndiye kuti bantu bonse bazakhala bokondwera chifukwa chakuti mayezi yapaka pamene kwasokoloka muntu kuti no ndine mwini.
The community is worried that despite land offer letters being given to them by the Ministry of Land, the said trio are threatening to evict them from the land they allege is theirs. This journalist also made efforts to get the side of the alleged owners who refused to be on camera. The residents have pleaded with the Ministry of Lands to hit the ground and come to their rescue. For now, they look up to the government to resolve the issue as the Ministry of Lands has not yet given an official position on the matter. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Chilanga.
Some farmers of Chilesha village in Mbala district of the Northern Province have bemoaned the late distribution of farming inputs by the government. The farmers spoken to complained that the farming inputs are coming late, and when they come, they are not enough to cater for all the cooperatives. A farmer, Newton Chilela, says he is optimistic that inputs will this year be distributed on time, considering that government has announced that fertilizer has already started arriving in the district. Here's a report.
Small-scale farmers in Zambia remain the breadbasket of the country, yet the late distribution of inputs by the government has been negatively affecting their crop production. These are some of the small-scale farmers in Chilesha village of Umbala district in Northern Province whose crops did not do well due to the late distribution of inputs by the government and are now being forced to do piecework for a commercial farmer in the area to make some money to feed their children.
Our complaint is on fertilizer. Why is it that government only sends out fertilizer when the rain is about to end? We are getting 4 packs against 28 people. So how are we going to share? We just end up dying in our poverty. That's what I have. Let the president come in and support us.
And the farm owner, Newton Chilela, says he is optimistic that fertilizer will be distributed on time, considering the fact that government has announced that it has started sending inputs to the districts.
One of the single biggest challenge for us is the fertilizer, the inputs, because I think last year we had a challenge in terms of deliverables. These were delivered towards the end of December, and some by January they had not received their inputs. So I'm very optimistic this year with the pronouncement from government coming forth that this year they've already started the distribution of inputs into the provincial centers. So hopefully that before the onset of the rains we should expect to receive the inputs. Although the majority are small-scale farmers and they depend on these inputs. And also with the debt restructuring that we've seen, it has kind of brought a lot of excitement within the small-scale farmers, and their expectations are that next year, as we go towards October, when the finance minister will be now pronouncing the budget for 2024, our expectations are that there will be more allocation into the farming sector.
With small-scale farmers being the majority in Zambia, there is need to come up with a proper mechanism that will ensure that inputs are delivered on time to minimize on the losses. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
Some charcoal traders in Lusaka's Mtendere compound have expressed willingness to stop the sale of charcoal in the wake of worsening climatic conditions of the country. Lucy Banda says she is willing to stop the selling of charcoal provided government provides an alternative to her business. Another trader, Austin Mulenga, says he appreciates the effects of charcoal burning on the climate on the climate, but says it is his only source of livelihood. Meanwhile, Keepers Foundation Zambia Executive Director Ezra Banda says with the recently announced debt restructuring deal, for Zambia, there is need for the country to reposition itself as regards climate change.
Charcoal, once a symbol of warmth and sustenance, has become a double-edged sword, forever uttering the delicate dance between the heavens and the earth. Zambia loses between 180,000 and 250,000 hectares each year, with 25% of deforestation and forest degradation being attributed to charcoal production. This status has significantly contributed to greenhouse gas emissions that drive global climate change. But charcoal traders in Lusaka's Mtendere compound have called on government to provide incentives that will see them turn to business ventures that are climate friendly. Lucy Zimba acknowledges the effects of charcoal on the country's climate, but says selling charcoal is the only source of our livelihood.
Tireke tisiye kulisa marasha bazati pasa business bwanje oti tiyambe kukunzisa mo bana tiyambe kugera mu mwamene umu bazati pasa anchito bwanji
sasonga kwanza utwaleso osalisa mutemo bangalese walina mpavu batani ke bantu bopolesa muntu bampasa voshita vikuru vosa tu asiye chija apeze pameneze upeze vandu vamapati basati muntu wamusi yabe si nisukule betemele wazata sebebongo
tema mitengo kuma famu kulivemene mama tema mitengo kuma famu so akaboresa na ifuta odawo kuno titenga mu ka 20 kwacha ka 30 so chapi malashi so chikulive bomo ngati alamu akaisunga so chikati alamu ti mitengo siyane kuchua so yo fiti today kukambutireka kujua mitengo ndikaboda malashi ndivide ngati kuti anozo tuyo wa business
But Keepers Foundation Zambia Executive Director Ezra Banda says Zambia has a great opportunity to reposition its climate change strategy following the recent agreement to restructure the country's debt by its creditors. Mr. Banda says premium should also be placed on providing alternatives to those that rely on charcoal as a source of livelihood.
There's no enough, there's this carbon which is coming out is absorbed. But how do we do that? Because currently people are cutting trees, currently people are involved in their sustainable economic activity. So to us, this is an opportunity. Okay? This is an opportunity where now we have this debt restructuring, which has given us room. You know, people have to understand there is room here because we are going to pay, of course, we are going to pay for over 20 years. But we won't pay the installments which we could have paid if it was 10 years. So it means that the government has now a chance to generate enough incomes and save it and redirect it to climate financing.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association of Zambia has attributed the continuous illegal mining of minerals in Zambia to complications attached to policies surrounding the mining sector. Federation President Pastor Joseph Mwansa says some of the policies attached to one getting a mining license are so complicated and need to be simplified for ordinary Zambians to understand. Meanwhile, Community Action Against Corruption CASC Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo says he is delighted that all those who were involved in looting and plundering of Sugilite in Luapula province have been arrested by the Zambia Police Service. Here's a report.
The continuous illegal mining activities in Zambia has caused the country to lose huge sums of revenue through uncollected taxes from those who are illegally mining the minerals meant to benefit the Zambian economy. The recent arrest of government officials, police officers and cadres engaged in the illegal mining of Sugilite in Luapula province has exposed the many illegalities that have gone unnoticed for many years. The Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association of Zambia has, however, attributed the continuous illegal mining activities to complications attached to policies surrounding the mining sector, further calling on the policies to be revised in order to allow for ordinary citizens to access mining licenses.
To tackle the issue of illegal mining in Sugilite, they have to really look critically in the policy. The policy should be adjusted in order to collect certain things maybe which we are not done right, which is encouraging illegal mining in our country. As we are working on the policy with the government of today, I would like to believe that at the end of the day, if we can simplify certain areas in the policy, we'll see the illegal mining being reduced.
Meanwhile, Community Action Against Corruption Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo says he is delighted that all those who were involved in looting and plundering of Sugilite have been arrested and has thanked the UPND government for allowing the law to take its course.
This arrest will help to bring to an end speculations that there were some people who were being shielded in that scandal. So that is a very good move, and it is a positive move in the fight against corruption, and it is a clear demonstration that the current fight against corruption has no such cases. Going by our history and what we've experienced as Zambians, it is very much difficult to arrest high-profile people who are involved in corruption scandals because of interests that the powers that be do possess.
The arrest of illegal miners is, however, not enough to resolve the challenges the mining sector is faced with, hence the need to ensure that the right policies are put in place which will not disadvantage any Zambian from benefiting from the country's wealth. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The BYZ campaign has described the just-ended Zambia International Trade Fair as a success owing to the turnout of exhibitors, especially local companies. Addressing the place in Lusaka, BYZ founder Evans Ngoma says the trade fair is an important event that helps companies to grow and creates a great platform for networking. Mr. Ngoma has also urged government through the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry and the Zambia Development Agency ZDA to effectively collaborate with the private sector in order to host a number of such trade and investment promotion events across the country in order to encourage a culture of business networking. He says such events will help uplift the socio-economic status of the local businesses.
Suggesting that the International Trade Fair event should be held twice in a year so as to allow small and medium business to be exposed. Should be held on a rotational basis so as to allow other provinces benefit. Here means that, traditionally it's being held in dollar, but if they could shift the activity to another province, because there are many economic benefits. Those into hotels and lodges, I think they are the times when they are minting the most in terms of their revenue or bed space, because dollar alone cannot accommodate all the showgoers, all the exhibitors. So most people would even go to Wansha, Kitwe, as far as Mufulira and Chingola. Can now confidently assert that the 2023 International Trade Fair was a great success, given the turnout of exhibitors, especially the local companies, and confirmation that trade fair indeed does help grow the company businesses. The successful hosting of this year's International Trade Fair can also be attributed to our national unity of purpose. Where there's peace, everything flourishes.
Socialist Party General Secretary Dr. Cosmas Msumali has alleged that the much-celebrated debt restructuring deal is a disaster for the country, as it is not a solution to the economic challenges. Dr. Msumali, who addressed the press in Ndola, says there is no need for the government to give tax holidays to the mining sector, as it could have raised the resources through taxes. He says the only thing that Zambia has gained from the debt restructuring deal is prolonging the payment period to the future generations. The party SG has since challenged government to go back to taxing the mining sector in order to realize the much-needed revenue to repay back the debt.
In a few months from now, the rating organizations are going to produce their statistics. And mark my words, the grading of Zambia is going to go low. Why? Because you have failed to pay debt. You have restructured it. Restructured is a sign of failure. And those rating organizations are going to lower down the grade of Zambia. When your grade is lowered down, it means any future lending is going to be expensive because it includes a risk premium on top of it. Since they're talking about economics, in economics, zero-sum game. When you do the arithmetic thinking you are benefiting, but at the end of the day, actually you have lost out. You have not moved. And that's what we have done here with this government. They are already postponing problems for future generations. And the generation contract in our lives is that leave this world better than you found it. Don't leave burden for the future generation. The debt restructuring is a disaster.
President Hakainde Hichilema has urged graduating students at Valley View University in Ghana to regard hardships as an opportunity for greater opportunities. President Hichilema says the hardships he went through was an opening for him to restore the rule of law as he understood well the injustices that was prevailing while in prison. The head of state told the 1,324 graduates that such an experience was God's way of allowing him to attain the highest office and further encourage the students to see suffering as an opportunity for better opportunities. He says leadership is a huge burden, but with a positive attitude, anyone can manage, stating that one's background does not limit success.
I know the Chief of Staff gave quite some good stuff about this fellow talking. But this fellow also, to get the presidency, went to jail 15 times. 15 times. The last time I went to jail, I was on the death row. I was on treason. I was accused of treason. Never committed treason. No, don't worry about it. I'm not a criminal. It was a way of keeping me away from public office. But I used to tell guys in prison looking very depressed, I said, did you commit a crime? He says, no. So why are you depressed? Don't worry, relax. People come and see me, visit me in prison, and they look at me wearing all those things. They start crying. Why are you crying? There's nothing to cry about. He knows. Little did I know that that was God's desire to walk me through the dark side. So when we form government, we can restore the rule of law.
Persons living with disabilities in Mansa district of Luapula province are optimistic that the knowledge they have acquired from a 10-day workshop organized by Disability Rights Watch has given them the confidence to participate in elections. We have details in the following reports.
Different abled persons in Mansa district in Luapula province have come together to discuss ways in which they too can fully participate in politics. Exuda Chapa, who is visually impaired, is one of those who took part in a 10-day training organized by the Disability Rights Watch in collaboration with the Zambia National Women's Lobby.
It has made us to be so courageous, even if it will mean us to stand, to involve ourselves in political participation. We are able to stand because we have been taught how to present ourselves in the public, the language to use. If we go, for example, in villages, we can know the language to use even in town.
Other participants of this training have underscored the importance of involving persons with disabilities in politics.
I am stating to the community that you should not discriminate us. We should be considered just like any other person. My disability cannot actually impede me from actually providing development to the community.
For development to take place, it has to be inclusive. It's now primitive to say that persons with disabilities cannot participate in politics, because they are also part and parcel of the society.
National Women's Lobby, who are one of the implementers of the project, shares on the objectives and why they settled for Mansa district.
We are working in Mansa and Lusaka, mainly for the reason because of, in Lusaka, during our baseline study, we realized that Lusaka has the highest concentration of political parties. And Mansa was identified having that during our baseline study, we realized that Mansa has the highest prevalence of persons with disabilities.
Kenneth Chomba, reporting for Zanis News in Mansa district.
On that note, we break for some commercials, but still ahead we have international and sports news. Don't go away.
On Monday, 10th July 2023, on National Matters, we take a look at human rights concerns in Zambia. Join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
Our role is to be constructive, to help build the country. We are not hostile, we are not political enemies. For us, the rivalry that we share is just to ensure that this country is run better.
Ministry of Information and Media Director Spokesperson Tawo Kawana.
There is construction going on in every constituency in Zambia.
And Zambia Police Spokesperson Ray Hamonga.
People have been issuing derogatory statement against the head of state, defamation statement, bordering on defamation. We have just gone to pigeon like a fish, just get them and take them and bring the police and they're arrested.
Invite others to participate through phoning, on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Make a dent with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back, and now in international news, an airstrike in a Sudanese city on Saturday killed at least 22 people. Health authorities said in one of the deadliest airstrikes yet in the 3 months of fighting between the country's rival generals. The assault took place in the Dar es Salaam neighborhood in Omdurman, the neighboring city of the capital, Khartoum, according to the brief statement by the health ministry. The attack wounded an unspecified number of people, it says. Here is now a roundup of international news.
An airstrike in a Sudanese city on Saturday killed at least 22 people, health authorities said, in one of the deadliest air attacks yet in the 3 months of fighting between the country's rival generals. The assault took place in the Dar es Salaam neighborhood in Omdurman, the neighboring city of the capital Khartoum, according to a brief statement by the health ministry. The ministry further confirmed that the attack wounded an unspecified number of people. The conflict pitted the military against a powerful paramilitary group known as the Rapid Support Forces. Saturday's strike was one of the deadliest in the fighting in urban areas of the capital and elsewhere in Sudan. Last month, an airstrike killed at least 17 people, including 5 children in Khartoum. Meanwhile, the United Nations warned Sunday that the conflict-torn Sudan is on the brink of a full-scale civil war that could destabilize the entire region. Around 3,000 people have been killed in the conflict. Survivors have reported a wave of sexual violence, and witnesses have spoken of ethnically targeted killings.
The United States seeks healthy economic competition with China and doesn't want to make other countries choose sides. That was U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's message during her 4-day trip to Beijing.
President Biden and I do not see the relationship between the U.S. and China through the frame of great power conflict. We believe that the world is big enough for both of our countries to thrive.
The visit was part of a wider effort to stabilize the bilateral relationship, rocked by a long list of disagreements, ranging from technology restrictions to the war in Ukraine.
We hope the US side will take a rational and pragmatic attitude, meet China halfway, and work together.
China wants the US to lift billions in tariffs imposed by former President Donald Trump, and to end sanctions that have strangled Chinese technology firms' access to semiconductors. But Yellen defended those restrictions.
They are premised on straightforward national security considerations. They're not undertaken to gain economic advantage over China.
She also criticized what she called an uneven playing field for US firms operating in China and urged leaders in Beijing to speed up market.
Agadesh, Niger, is currently in the grip of a blistering heat wave with high temperatures. According to the National Meteorological Agency of Niger, temperatures have soared to a sweltering 47 degrees Celsius in recent days. In reality, the heat I feel is a lot. I implore God to protect us. This year's heat has made all the inhabitants of Agadesh suffer. In addition to the heat, there are many power cuts. The heat this year is terrible. In addition to the impact on human life, this heat wave is also having negative consequences on livestock. The intense heat is causing dehydration and heat stress among animals, leading to a decline in their overall well-being and productivity. We don't understand this heat. It hurts people and animals. Sometimes we bring cows to sell them at the market, and because of the heat, the livestock can't stand up. The livestock get sick from the heat. The extreme heat wave is generally taking a serious toll on the local population. The elderly and children are particularly susceptible to these severe conditions. In the Agadez area, which is a desert zone, the temperature rise is exceptional, often reaching 45 degrees Celsius. This is unbearable for biodiversity in general, like the plants and animals. Earth's average temperature set a new unofficial record high on Thursday, the third such milestone in a week that's already rated as the hottest on record.
And finally, in sports, Zambia yesterday beat Comoros by 2-1 in the ongoing COSAFA 2023 COSAFA Cup in South Africa after losing the first game against Malawi. The Chipolopolo boys played the Coelecants of Comoros in the Group B COSAFA encounter, which was goalless during the first 45 minutes. The Copper Bullets opened the scoreline in the 51st minute through Frederick Mulambia before Afan Jambey leveled the matters in the 74th minute. Thanks to Albert Kangwanda's 74th strike that sealed the win for Zambia. Zambia is in Group B alongside Malawi, Seychelles and Comoros. On that sporting note, we come to the end of the midday news, but don't go away because up next is the Lunchtime Cafe.
Water is life. each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Rain Glow, your smart irrigation partner.
On Monday, 10th July 2023, on National Matters, we take a look at human rights concerns in Zambia. Join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
Our role is to be constructive, to help build the country. We are not hostile, we are not political enemies. For us, the rivalry that we share is just to ensure that this country is run better.
Ministry of Information and Media Director Spokesperson Tawo Kawana.
There is construction going on in every constituency in Zambia.
And Zambia Police Spokesperson Ray Hamonga.
People have been issuing derogatory statements against the head of state, defamation statement, bordering on defamation. We have just gone to pigeon like a fish, just get them and take them and bring the police, and they're arrested.
Invite others to participate through phoning, on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a dent with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
It's time! Camnet TV brings to you an exciting kid show called My Creation. Join me, Sarah Chandamangazage, to interact with kids with special skills and talents between the age range of 9 to 17. This show will come to you every Saturday at 13:30 on Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you very much for joining us for Monday's edition of the Lunchtime Cafe. My name is Marco Kwakoz. This is a program that comes to you every Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, live at 12 on Camnet TV. Remember that we also broadcast live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV, and also on our YouTube channel, which is Camnet TV. So those are the platforms you can catch us on. Now, this program is a very interactive program, and it gives an opportunity for you to call us and give us your views on the stories that we are looking at. Now, we have four segments on this particular program. The first is we look at stories that are emerging, what is happening around us right now. Our reporters are in the fields, and they'll be sharing with us some stories that are breaking right now in our communities. And also, we have another segment we call the Forgotten Stories segment. Now, this segment takes us back into time just to remind us what was happening on this particular day a few years ago. We look at those stories also just to refresh our minds to see where we have come from. We have another segment that we call the main interview segment, and on this segment we invite various guests to come and discuss the issues that are making the headlines on that particular day. Like today, we'll be discussing issues to do with a sports event that is coming up shortly later this month. And also, we do have another segment which we call the viewer's reaction. Now, on that particular segment, that's the segment that we give you an opportunity as viewers to call us and tell us what you think about what we are discussing on that particular day, or for you to give us what is happening in your area, so that we can quickly send our reporters to come and see if we can pick some stories from there. So that's what this program is all about. That is what we look at on this particular program. So stay tuned. Don't go away, because shortly after this break, we'll be getting into the emerging stories segment.
Ingatamwishiwe pekeni tuipushe bana fia sasa ushe umwana nanyina inganaba butuluka uwinge wo munankwatira sambe nani mwe ikushya ina ishenya abo mwikere nabo.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Thank you very much for staying on Camnet TV. Let's get straight into the emerging stories that are happening right now. The construction of the rehabilitation of selected roads under the 12.539 kilometers funded by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development in Lusaka is progressing well. Now, according to the Lusaka City Council, the works commenced, the project commenced in January this year, after receiving a total project amount of 226 million kwacha to upgrade some roads in the city. Now, since the contract commenced, the contractor Cow G Limited has managed to complete 3 roads in New Kasama, and has since done 40% of drainage works along the completed roads. Now, meanwhile, works along Makishi roads expected to delay in completion because the utility companies that offer various services along the stretch have not yet relocated as guided by the local authority. So that is just one story that we expect in our main bulletin at 19:30 tonight. Do make sure that you join us for that particular news bulletin. The next story comes from the Tobacco Free Association of Zambia, which says they have congratulated President Hakainde Hichilema for the successful debt restructuring negotiations with the country's official creditors committee. Association Executive Director Brenda Chitindi says this achievement provides Zambia with a much needed relief. Now she says the tobacco-related health expenditure cost the Zambian economy is 2.8 billion kwacha annually, equivalent to 1.2 of the gross domestic product, GDP. Now she notes that increasing excise taxes on tobacco products is a highly effective measure to reduce tobacco use and generate government revenue for national development priorities. Let's have a look at this.
Tobacco Free Association of Zambia commends President Hakainde Hichilema on successful debt restructuring. The Tobacco Free Association of Zambia extends its congratulations to His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema for the successful debt restructuring negotiations with the country's official creditors committee. This achievement provides Zambia with a much-needed respite. Tobacco-related health expenditures cost the Zambia economy 2.8 billion annually, equivalent to 1.2% of the gross domestic product's GDP. Increasing excise taxes on tobacco products is a highly effective measure to reduce tobacco use and generate government revenue for national development priorities. The 2015 Addis Ababa Action Agenda on Financing for Development, supported by United Nations member states, recognizes price and tax measures on tobacco as an important and underutilized revenue to finance national development efforts. In Zambia, revenue from tobacco taxes can be directed towards bolstering the budgets of the Ministry of Health, National Cancer Hospital, National Heart Hospital, and the high referral specialist teaching hospitals which currently operate with minimum funding.
So that is another story that we expect during the 1930 menus on Camnet TV. Now, remember that you can catch that particular bulletin on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and channel 106 on Top Star. Those are the channels you can catch us on. But remember also that we broadcast live on our Facebook page, which is Camnet TV, and also not forgetting our YouTube channel, which is Camnet TV as well. So those are the platforms you can catch us if you want to watch our menus that comes your way at exactly 19:30 every day. Let's move on. Let's look at some sports stories now. The Zambia women's national team has arrived in New Zealand for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Now, the Emirates Airline plane carrying half of the Copper Queens side touched down Auckland International Airport at 10:03 local time. The second batch is expected later today. Now, with temperatures as low as 12 degrees, the Copper Queens were welcomed by FIFA officials before proceeding to the arrival gate, where a portion of Zambians welcomed the team. The Copper Queens are in Group C with the biggest women's football showpiece, and will tackle Japan on the 22nd of July before taking on Spain. 4 days later, the team will wrap up the group campaign against Costa Rica on the 31st of July. Let's have a look at this. Thank you very much. So those are the Copper Queens arriving in New Zealand for the FIFA 2023 World Cup that will be hosted in that particular country. So that is another story that we expect in detail at 19:30. Now remember that you can go to our Facebook page and give us your contribution as regards this particular program, as Dismu Victor has done, and also Enoch Mutale from Kitwe have done. So you can go to their Facebook page and leave your comments and contributions on this particular broadcast. We'll be more than happy to see what you think about what we are looking at today. Now, going to golf, the Mazabuka Golf Club says it has been motivated to continue developing the sport following the rehabilitation of the clubhouse by the Zambia Sugar Company with an injection of 240,000 kwacha raised through various stakeholders. Now, the call comes after the Zambia Sugar Company hosted a golf day tournament through which 240,000 kwacha was raised towards the junior golf club and the refurbishment of the club. Now, Zambia Sugar Country Director Oswald Mungwenzi says that the initiative is a demonstration of the company's commitment to ensuring that young people in various communities have access to proper sporting facilities. Meanwhile, club captain John Nkonjela says the move by the Zambia Sugar Company to improve the state of the 9-hole golf course has come at a time when the club has embarked on recruiting players from all age groups in an effort to grow the sport at national level. Let's have a look at this.
There were 24 companies that did contribute, each was contributing 10,000 kwacha. We were riding on the Zambia Sugar brand, which is a very good brand, and we raised 240,000 kwacha, and that's why you saw, and from that money we modernized ourselves. We started with the playing side, the chairs. We got enough chairs just to make sure that the golf course, when people come and having a nice time, what we call a 19th hole, because the golf course, a golf game is for 18 holes. There's what we call the 19th hole, which is actually the having some drinks and they can just have fun there. We did improve on the abortion blocks. I mean, with a lot of diseases coming our way, we wanted to have top class. We did invest on the course itself, our what we call tee boxes, where we start a golf game. We spent quite some money there, so there will be professionals from South Africa to come and re-rate our course after the works that we did. Then most of the money went to junior golf development. About 40% of the 240,000 went to junior golf development, because we believe we need to raise the game from the youngsters.
So those are the stories that we expect to see tonight at exactly 19:30 on our menus on Camnet TV. We were just giving you some hints of what you expect on that particular bulletin. And we are now moving in our next segment, the segment we call the Forgotten Stories segment. Now in this segment we give you stories that happened a few years back, but on this particular day, just to remind you of what was happening then. But before we get into the details of that particular segment, let's take a short break.
On Monday, 10th July 2023, on National Matters, we take a look at human rights concerns in Zambia. Join Pastor Moses Chiluba as he hosts Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba.
Our role is to be constructive, to help build the country. We are not hostile, we are not political enemies. For us, the rivalry that we share is just to ensure that this country is run better.
Ministry of Information and Media Director Spokesperson Tawo Kawana.
There is construction going on in every constituency in Zambia.
And Zambia Police Spokesperson Ray Hamonga.
People have been issuing derogatory statement against the head of state, defamation statement, bordering on defamation. We have just gone to pigeon like a fish, just get them and take them and bring the police, and they're arrested.
Invite others to participate through phoning, on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Join me, Amazing Katamanda, on the weekly gospel show for those exciting and interesting interviews with your favorite gospel
Hold on to me when it's too dark to see. You cannot put your power back to
Hallelujah. And this time around, we are bringing to you entertainment news and the countdown, as you guys are able to nominate your top 3 favorite music videos of the week. Remember, it's every Saturday at 10:45. You can also catch repeats every Monday at 10 hours. Camnet TV is not just another time.
Thank you very much. We are now getting in a segment that we call the Forgotten Stories segment. Now, on this particular segment, we give you stories that happened some years back, just to refresh our memories. And we start with 2021 on this day, when Choma Member of Parliament Cornelius Mweto refused to apologize to the then Vice President Inonge Wina for what the Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Patrick Matibini, deemed as a demeaning statement. Mr. Mwetwa had referred to the Vice President's statement as shameful and shallow. Let's have a look at this.
United Party for National Development Choma Central Member of Parliament Cornelius Mwetwa this morning steered debate not only in Parliament but outside as well. This was after Honourable Mwetwa refused to apologise to Vice President Inonge Wina for what the Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Patrick Matibini, deemed as demeaning statements. Mr. Mwetwa described the Vice President's statements as shameful and shallow for blaming the opposition in the national incidences such as the gassing incident that hit the country late last year into early part of 2020. Mr. Mwetwa refused to apologize after the Speaker, Dr. Patrick Matibini, found him guilty of alleged demeaning statements on a named broadcast platform and print media. Dr. Matibini said the statement was an attack on the Vice President's persona and that Mr. Mwetwa breached the parliamentary rules.
To describe Her Honor the Vice President, and in view of the position she holds as Vice President of the Republic of Zambia and leader of government business in the House, your description of her in those terms were demeaning and highly disrespectful. As a long-serving member of this august House, it is most unfortunate that you conducted yourself in the manner you did. And your misconduct has the potential of lowering the integrity and decorum of this House. Both as an honorable member, your conduct should be above reproach, both in and outside the House. The House is in this regard extremely displeased with your conduct. I expect that in future you will abide by the rules of the House and avoid such misconduct. A repetition of such misconduct would definitely attract a stiffer penalty. You may proceed to tender your apology.
Mr. Mwetwa refused to render the apology, stating that apologizing on the matter would be infringing on his freedom of expression.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for inviting me to this House. I was last year in March. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, for asking me to come and apologize for a statement I made in reference to the statement made by Her Honor the Vice President in what I believe was in furtherance of my enjoyment of my freedom of speech as entrenched in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, asking me to apologize is like asking me to stop breathing. I made it abundantly clear to your committee
Honorable member, take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
So that is a story that we picked from 2020, just to remind you of what was happening in 2020 on this very day. Another story comes from the Transparency International Zambia, who said the African leaders' efforts in the fight against corruption were below par. Let's have a look at this.
The AU Anti-Corruption Day is part of the many interventions and initiatives aimed at placing the spotlight on corruption, with a view to rooting out the vice while strengthening democratic principles, institutions, and the rule of law. The ultimate aim is to attain transparency and accountability in the management of public affairs among AU member countries. Unfortunately, the efforts of Africa's leaders in this regard have continued to be largely underwhelming and outrightly uninspiring. As we commemorate the AU Anti-Corruption Day, there are many lessons to be picked and recommendations we can deduce from this year's theme, which is stated as, and I quote, fighting corruption through effective and efficient judicial systems. For us to make considerable progress in the fight against corruption, we need everyone on board. There should be no sacred cows, from an ordinary citizen to the president. We have what it takes to end corruption, but to do this, the selective application of the law needs to come to an end. The perpetrators of the Mukula tree saga are still roaming the streets freely. The case of 48 houses, which later became 51, has almost died a natural death. The Michael Chilufya-Sata Toll Plaza saga is still not resolved. The overpriced 42 fire tenders have not been properly explained. So with all these issues still pending, we are concerned that our leaders are expending their energies on non-important issues, such as the undesirable push to amend the Republican Constitution through the controversial Bill 10. We would like to appeal to His Excellency President Edgar Lungu to use this momentous occasion to reconsider his position of not relieving Health Minister Dr. Chilufya Chitalo of his ministerial duties in the wake of his ongoing court case. We are aware of and subscribe to the principle of presumption of innocence, which is one of the hallmarks of our judicial system. However, I would like to put it to the President that corruption is not only a legal issue, but it is also a moral issue.
So that is another of the stories that we picked from the 2020 basket. Now, moving on, in 2021, on this day, residents of Lusaka's Misisi compound woke up to a rude shock when they discovered that a group of suspected cadres had wreaked havoc in the area. Let's have a look at this.
Residents of Lusaka's Misisi compound Saturday morning woke up to a panic after noticing how some of the residents were brutally attacked by some suspected cadres of a named political party in the area Friday night.
Then Bilgambo Minatan Madozi na mawindo kukwanya bonzi. Then after that setangu beta ukatangu titachanguta bangena mnyumba doba ipwanya yonsi. Then bango timmenya na mama chet batukusokuti.
As this reporter and a camera person took the step to go into one of Lusaka's notorious compound to visit the scene, horror is what they witnessed. Broken doors, damaged windows among other things, caused by the suspected cadres.
What has the fridge done? They've taken the radio here, they've taken the TV. Yes, these are pangas.
This woman, together with her child, survived from the cold-hearted attackers and disclosed to this reporter that she knows some of the alleged suspects.
Now kuna kweve futi bapwanya na kweve bachosa katundu na kuno chibachosa kwenzele kuma 23:30 ba PF ni ba PF kwenze ba Intercity na ba Big 5 na ba City Market na bakamwala ndiye benze kuna bachawama bamene benze bangena munyumba benze bambirika nenzonera ndependenze kuyanganira paka mpopa chafuta bapwanya kujana nezinapisa makuna mwana bevis banaziba tukukungenerera so pe bangena bano mungatri ati nchiwanira umu ndekwambotenga mu wenze fridge bambogaba na manje benze almost all of 20 benze kwana benze bangena munyumba kai bena ngweza kuiza na fridge yenze
United Party for National Development UPND Chawama constituency campaign manager Andrew Zulu says the attack is meant to instill fear in the opposition, a move to stop them from filing in fresh nominations on Monday next week.
All along they say UPND are a violent party. But look, these are the PF people who are attacking UPND, even following them in their homes. And some of the people attacked are not even politicians. They are just mere citizens of Mississippi who have got the privilege of enjoying their rights as citizens. We want a peaceful community where people can enjoy. This is not the Zambia that we want. May I appeal also to ECZ to take action to this political party that is known now as a violent party. We know why PF are doing this is because on Monday we are preparing for fresh nominations and they are trying to insert fear in us so that our candidates do not fall in. But as a political party, we will stand our grounds and make sure that our candidate go to fall in on Monday.
Despite several calls to end political violence by different stakeholders, among them political players, on the ground, violence continues, and those affected are the majority innocent citizens who are the voters. Fear is in the air, and fear is savaging. Zambians are more afraid today than they have been in a long time. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Lastly, on this day, in the same year 2021, various stakeholders had described the death swap which government had introduced for civil servants as a campaign strategy. Let's have a look at this.
Debates have emerged over the decision by the government of swapping dates for public servants, many calling the initiative as a campaign strategy used to silence the civil servants in buying their votes. Yesterday, the Republican Vice President Inonge Wina, while in Western Province, announced that the head of state, President Edgar Lungu, had taken note of the cries of civil servants by assenting to the date swap to help lessen their financial burden in this COVID-19 period. Under honor, the Vice President has disclosed to civil servants today, Saturday, the 10th of July 2021, during a tour in Senanga, that government understood the challenges that they are facing, hence announced the implementation of the debt swap with immediate effect.
That government should take charge, the Ministry of Finance should take charge of this arrangement to ensure that you are protected from the money lenders and the other financial institutions. So this will be done, and we are sending Mr. Chimbwali, the Permanent Secretary, Civil Service, what do you call it? Public Service Management Division, to come to Western Province. I think it will be the first province to be visited, so that this is effective.
Yesterday, Friday, the 9th of July 2021, the National Union for Public and Private Educators of Zambia threatened to take action on Monday, the 12th of July 2021, if government was to fail to address their concern, among them delay in payment of debt emoluments.
That the union had agreed with government through Public Service Management Division to have the personal emoluments related arrears paid.
But the Zambia Anti-Tribalism Youth Organization says the initiative is a sign of lack of campaign strategy by the PF.
Time of elections, no, you need to love your country. When you love your country, then the situation you are in will tell you whether what the politicians is telling you is true or not. You see, they are failing to pay civil servants.
because they don't have money. I know it's a good thing.